Speaking at the opening of the 2025 National Conference on Public Accounts and Fiscal Governance in Abuja, the President, represented by Minister of State for Finance, outlines key reforms targeted at strengthening fiscal discipline, digital financial management, and procurement transparency across ministries, departments, and agencies. Correspondent Aniete Patrick reports.
It was a gathering of policymakers, lawmakers, and fiscal experts as the 2025 edition of the National Conference on Public Accounts and Fiscal Governance got underway in Abuja. The theme, Charting a New Course for Transparency and Sustainable Development, set the tone for urgent dialogue on Nigeria's fiscal direction.
In 2022 alone, Nigeria spent over 4 trillion on fuel subsidies, more than reallocated to capital expenditure. This was not only fiscally unsustainable, it was unjust. A subsidy that disproportionately benefited the affluent, encouraged smuggling, and breeded inefficiency was neither equitable nor strategic.
President Tinubu emphasized that good governance must be institutionalized, backed by platforms like Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System, Government Integrated Finance and Management Information System, and the Open Treasury Portal to ensure that every naira spent is traceable and every officer accountable.
Since its removal, we have redirected those funds into targeted interventions, expanding our social safety nets, improving public transportation, and financing critical infrastructure projects. Most importantly, we have strengthened our fiscal buffers, making Nigeria more resilient to external shocks. Our commitment remains steadfast to ensure that the gains of this difficult yet necessary reform.
Lawmakers also took center stage. Chairman of the House Committee on Public Accounts, Honorable Bamidele Salam, declared that the National Assembly is united in its resolve to finally pass the long-awaited Audit Bill 10 years after it was introduced.
There is no better way to achieve this if we do not make concerted, conscious effort to recalibrate our fiscal management systems and improve our global transparency index. It is our hope that this conference will come up with clear, actionable, and pragmatic measurable plans to achieve this objective in an immediate and short plus long-term measures.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, said the 10th Assembly has taken bold steps to enhance oversight and fight corruption, highlighted the passage of several critical bills, including the Federal Audit Service Amendments Bill.
Recent audit reports revealed that over 300 billion naira of public funds remain unaccounted for. More than 60% of federal ministries, departments, and agencies failed to comply with financial regulations. The reports identify challenges that include unauthorized environments, incomplete audit cycles, institutional leakages, and weak enforcement of rules.
On his part, Chairman of the Senate Public Accounts Committee, Senator Aliu Wadada, urged all stakeholders to treat physical integrity as a national obligation, not a slogan. The conference, which continues for 4 days, is expected to produce a roadmap to reform Nigeria's public financial management systems, anchored on transparency, citizen engagement, and stronger legislative oversight. Aniete Patrick, Global Television News.
Thank you so very much, Aniete, for your reporting. President Bola Tinubu has called for a fairer global system on climate action, finance, and healthcare, urging BRICS nations to lead efforts toward inclusive development and equity for emerging economies. Speaking at the 17th BRICS Summit in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the president said Nigeria is taking bold steps to expand renewable energy, tackle environmental degradation, and achieve universal health coverage while aligning with the global agenda for sustainable development. The president also told the world leaders that Nigeria is mainstreaming climate action, promoting nature-based solutions, strengthening urban resilience, and aligning its national agenda with the global renewal framework to ensure inclusive growth and environmental security. Nigeria's Vice President, Kashif Shettima, has reiterated the country's commitment to a comprehensive nuclear test ban through collaboration with this known while receiving the Executive Secretary of the organization, Dr. Robert Floyd, in a statement by Senior Special Assistant on Media and Communications, Tanya Kwocha, on a courtesy visit to the presidential villa. The Vice President emphasized that Nigeria and other African countries currently prioritize addressing existential challenges such as poverty and the effects of climate change rather than the pursuit of nuclear weapons capability. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, says the National Assembly must move beyond merely passing budgets to tracking how appropriated funds are translated into measurable public outcomes. Speaking through the House Majority Leader, Julius Ihonviri, at the National Conference on Public Accounts and Fiscal Governance in Abuja, the Speaker emphasized that sustainable development depends on transparent and accountable fiscal governance. He outlined initiatives taken by the 10th House of Representatives to improve fiscal oversight, including making audit reports publicly accessible, enhancing committee engagement with the Office of the Auditor General, and following up on previous audit findings. The federal government has officially pegged entry admission year into the nation's tertiary institutions at age 16. Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said this while declaring open the ongoing policy meeting of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, in Abuja. He warned that the heads of institutions found to be engaged in admission fraud would face prosecution, noting that the official age of 16 set by the government is not negotiable. In another development, the federal government has declared that any admission into tertiary institutions conducted outside the central admissions processing system will be deemed illegal. Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, gave the directive in Abuja at the 2025 policy meeting of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB. The minister warned universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education across the country against illegal admission processes. In the meantime, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board has announced 150 as the cutoff mark for admission into universities in Nigeria. The board made the decision during the 2025 policy meeting on admissions held at the Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center in Abuja. JAMB stated that the cutoff mark for colleges for nursing stands at 140, colleges of agriculture 100, while colleges of education remain 100 as well. Let's turn to other stories for you. The leadership of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has announced that it has directed all its branches nationwide to suspend their services due to the delay in the payment on June 2025 salaries. The union cited the implementation of its no pay, no work resolution as the reason for this action. The union branches at two federal universities, University of Jos and the University of Abuja, have already begun strike in line with this directive. Medical doctors under the aegis of the National Association of Government General and Dental Practitioners in Ondo State have embarked on a 3-day warning strike, which has now crippled activities in government-owned health facilities across the state. In a joint statement issued in Akure, the state capital, the chairman of the association in Ondo State, Dr. Richard Obe, and Secretary Dr. Adekunle Owolabi lamented the severe shortage of medical personnel, alleging that some government hospitals operate with only one doctor per local government area. The strike, which commenced yesterday, is in protest against what the doctors described as the gross neglect of the health sector and welfare of medical practitioners by the administration of Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has issued a flood alert for the month of July, warning that states including Sokoto, Lagos, Edo, Benue, and 16 others are at risk of experiencing flash floods. The agency flash flood risk alert for July 2025 shows the states with varying probable risks of experiencing flash flooding events due to the onset of rainfall across the country. It noted that despite receiving over 620 billion naira in ecological funds, many states seem ill-prepared to mitigate the impact of such disasters, raising questions about the effectiveness or otherwise of these funds in enhancing environmental resilience and disaster preparedness. We now turn to Lagos State, where the government has announced the official commencement date for 7 recently enacted laws signed by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu aimed at bolstering public safety, governance, and institutional development across the state. The announcement was contained in a statement issued by the Ministry of Justice and signed by Director of Public Affairs, Grace Alo. The ministry noted that the laws passed by the Lagos State House of Assembly and assented to by the governor have been accompanied by commencement orders in line with statutory requirements. The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF Bauchi Field Office, has reiterated its commitment to instilling a culture of tree planting among the younger generation in the state. Chief of UNICEF Bauchi Field Office, Nuzat Rafik, stated this during a tree planting campaign to commemorate World Environment Day 2025 at the College of Education Technical DAS. Rafik, who stressed the importance of involving youths in environmental sustainability, noted that they are the leaders of tomorrow and need a safe and healthy planet to inherit. Chairman of the Police Service Commission has come under fire for directing all police officers from the rank of Assistant Superintendent of Police ASP and above who are due for promotion to travel to Abuja to write a promotion exam. The move has been described by police officers as insensitive and has raised concerns about the potential suffering and hardship it may cause for the police officers involved. The police officers had lamented that thousands of officers will have to abandon their duties and travel to Abuja for the examination without any allowances for transport and accommodation, while also raising concerns about the risk of accidents and kidnappings on Nigeria's very, very bad roads. Let's take a look at other stories for you. The legal counsel representing the Senate in the suit over the suspension of Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan from the Senate has publicly challenged claims made by the embattled female lawmaker, suggesting that the Federal High Court order has directed her recall from suspension from legislative functions. In a statement issued in Abuja by the law firm of Paul Daudu and Co., the Senate legal team addressed a viral video on social media in which the suspended senator announced plans to resume legislative duties today based on a July 4 ruling by Honorable Justice Binta Yanko of the Federal High Court in Abuja. Paul Daudu, however, who was present during the court proceedings, said the judge merely offered an obiter dicta, a legal opinion not forming part of the binding judgment, stating that the suspension may be excessive given its impact on the Kogi Central constituent rights to representation. Meanwhile, Kogi State's government says it has flagged off a 4-day capacity building workshop for health managers across the state aimed at establishing a more viable, reliable, and harmonized healthcare delivery system. Speaking at the flag-off ceremony, State Commissioner for Health, represented by Permanent Secretary Momo Stephen, expressed optimism that the initiative would significantly enhance grassroots healthcare delivery. Stephen stated that the workshop is part of the sector-wide approach under President Bola Tinubu's HOPE project, which aims to strengthen, digitize, and integrate healthcare systems nationwide. This is Global Television, and you're watching the live broadcast of News Express with Uyi Agmofwebe. When the rest of the news returns shortly, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited donates 35 CNG buses to presidential initiative on CNG. Details coming shortly, plus foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please do stay with us. Thank you so very much, everyone, for staying with us. The second part of this news broadcast now takes us to business, where the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has handed over 35 hybrid compressed natural gas CNG-powered buses to the Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas, PCNG. During a brief ceremony held at the company towers in Abuja, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the oil firm, Bashir Bayo Ojulari, reiterated the company's commitment to supporting federal government's gas aspirations. Sadiat Yakubu has details.
The Group Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Bayo Ojulari, stated the move is in line with the NNPC Limited's effort to drive the adoption of compressed natural gas as a cleaner, cheaper and sustainable fuel alternative. He added that the company has recorded significant progress on gas supply, infrastructure, distribution and retail outlets.
In the wake of the PMS subsidy removal and in alignment with the federal government's push to promote CNG as a viable, cost-efficient alternative, NNPC previously donated 10 CNG buses through the NNPC Foundation.
Earlier in his address, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Ekperikpe Ekpo, said the CNG buses represent not just vehicles, but serve as instruments of economic relief, social equity, and environmental responsibility. The minister described the initiative as a direct reflection of President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, a bold step to reduce the cost of transportation, lessen dependency on petrol, and ensure utilization of the nation's abundant natural gas resources for the benefit of the people.
The CNG story continues to unfold. The reality is that it's not just 2 years ago that the CNG story started in Nigeria. Some of us can remember that in 2008, there was actually a major initiative for CNG commercialization in Nigeria.
The Executive Vice President, Downstream NNPC Limited, Muminu Dagazao, said the adoption of CNG as a fuel alternative has significant economic benefits for the nation by reducing reliance on petroleum motor spirit and automotive gas oil as automotive fuels, which also leads to substantial cost savings and support for growth of local gas industry.
It boasts to reduce the cost of transportation, lessen our dependence on petrol, and ensure abundant natural resources are used to benefit our people.
The program coordinator, CEO Presidential CNG Initiative, Mr. Michael Oluwagbemi, commended the NNPC Limited for supporting the initiative, stressing that the company has been a reliable partner for the initiative since its commencement. Sadia Yakubu, Yahaya, Global Television.
Sadia Yakubu there reporting for us. Thank you, Sadia. The federal government has expressed its determination to tackle energy poverty with a high-level stakeholder engagement forum towards the implementation of the National Energy Compact under the Mission 300 initiative. The government-led forum, which is a critical step towards tackling energy poverty, will be held on July 8, 2025 through the Federal Ministry of Power and the Federal Ministry of Finance in collaboration with Sustainable Energy for All and others. The project is geared towards achieving the ambitious goal of connecting 300 million people across Africa to electricity by 2030 alongside other African countries, with Nigeria as one of 12 countries selected for the first phase of Mission 300 implementation, and has committed to bold reforms to expand energy access, scale up renewable energy, and attract private sector investment. Nigerians are lamenting the rise in the price of cement across the country, despite commitment by Dangote Cement and other manufacturers to reduce the price of the commodity. This follows the steady rise in the price of various brands of cement in Nigeria, selling at between 12,000 and 9,500 across various locations. In March this year, cement price reduced to as low as 7,800 per 50 kilogram bag from as high as 15,000 on February 16, 2024. Let's go beyond our shores with the news now. President Donald Trump says the United States will send additional weapons to Ukraine, triggering Russian criticism after Moscow claimed new gains in its grinding war against its neighbor. The Kremlin warned today that sending arms to Ukraine only serves to prolong the conflict, a day after the U.S. president's pledge for what he called more weapons for Ukraine to defend itself. Meanwhile, United States President Donald Trump has held talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, with both leaders touting their controversial proposal to push besieged Palestinians into neighboring countries. Their meeting comes as Israeli negotiators and Hamas held indirect talks in Qatar for a ceasefire in Gaza. The Houthis in Yemen have damaged a second ship in as many days in the Red Sea, targeting a vessel with rocket-propelled grenades. Health Ministry officials in Cairo say a fire engulfed the main telecom company building in downtown Cairo, Egypt, injuring at least 14 people and prompting a temporary outage of internet and mobile phone services. The Health Ministry said in a statement that the injured were taken to nearby hospitals, while 2 emergency responders suffered burns on their hands. The statement further added that the fire started on the 7th floor of a landmark 10-story Telecom Egypt building in the Ramses area of Cairo. And now some excitement from the world of sports. Kayinsola Ajayi's sensational form has continued as he parred to a personal best equaling 9.92 seconds to win the men's 100 meters at the Meeting International Sotteville-le-Roi in France. The 20-year-old surged from lane 5 at the Stade Yon Adro with a reaction time of 0.156 seconds to edge out a strong field that included 5 sub-10-second runners, winning by daylight and rewriting the meeting record previously held by Trinidad and Tobago's Kirsten Bledman since 2015. Bledman's mark of 10.2 seconds stood for 9 years until Ajayi lowered it with the smooth run, aided by a legal +17 meters a tailwind, as Cameroonian veteran Emmanuel Eseme placed second in 10.04 seconds, while Senegal's Mamoudou Sarr followed in. The future of Victor Osimhen is nearing a dramatic conclusion as top clubs across Europe and the Middle East continue to battle for his signature, with time running out and speculation growing by the day. Osimhen, who is currently on holiday and expected to return to Napoli next week following the expiration of his highly successful loan spell at Galatasaray, remains the subject of intense interest from both the Turkish champions and Saudi giants Al Hilal. And still talking football, Italian giants AC Milan have opened discussions with Nigerian international Victor Boniface over a possible move this summer amid increasing speculation that the Bayer Leverkusen forward could leave the Bundesliga champions. The development was first reported by Italian transfer news specialist Sasha Tavolieri, who confirmed that initial contract has already taken place between the Serie A side and the players' camp. Let's now end Global Television News Express with a look at some of our big stories. President Bola Tinubu has reaffirmed his administration's commitment to transparency and accountability in Nigeria's public finance system. In business, the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has handed over 35 hybrid compressed natural gas buses to the Presidential Initiative on Compressed Natural Gas. On the foreign scene, President Donald Trump says the United States will send additional weapons to Ukraine, triggering Russian criticism after Moscow had claimed new gains in its grinding war against its neighbor. And finally, in sport, we told you Nigeria's Kayinsola sensational form continued as he parred to a personal best, equaling 9.92 seconds to win the men's 100 meters at the Meeting International Sotteville-le-Roi in France. And that's your News Express. Thank you so very much for watching. A quick reminder that you can find us on DSTV, channel 365, and StarTimes, channel 276. Follow us across all of our social media platforms using at Global TV NG, as well as other handles, as you now see on your screen. I'm Muyi Agumofwebe saying a big thank you to you for watching, and bye-bye.